Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Hey, I know I haven't made some videos in a while. I've been on Instagram and doing some other things for business, and it's been working. Although YouTube's worked very well in the past, so I'm coming back to it. I'm making a wall, a background, make it more professional. But the reason why I'm on here right now is because of the fires in Napa. Now, I don't know if I ever told any of you guys, but I'm actually from Napa. I was born there at the Queen of the Valley. Raised. We did move away. We moved back middle school, high school, played football, wrestling, uh, baseball, that good stuff. Um, I went. I don't know how to say this. I'm not, without getting too caught up. All right, so here's what's going on. The first couple of images I put in here that you first saw were just to give you an idea of how bad it was. I might add some more of the smoke. I don't quite sure if we got any good images of that, but I'm about 45 minutes from where I actually went and helped out. I actually went into Napa, had to find a way to get past the police because they have the areas that are really dangerous. They have them blocked off. They wouldn't let me through at first. I thought I could talk my way through, but I couldn't. And so I actually bumped into Adam Housey. He's the Fox News anchor, and we went to high school together. It was his parents' house that we were trying to get to, so he got us through to his parents' house. And basically, by the time I got there, it was about 1 or 2 in the afternoon, maybe 2:30. And there was a group of guys I went to high school with that had pretty much put out most of it, I want to say, if not all of it. I basically stayed and put out the smaller fires, and there's constant embers, and I mean constant embers, blowing onto the property. You'd have to put it out with a shovel or put it out with water. And you know what? I don't know. I don't think I can give you a good idea of what it was like up there. It's still going on right now, actually, but no one's getting through right now, and you feel kind of weird about that. So here's the way it was. I was at their house, and there's no electricity. 80% of Napa, especially up Valley, there's no electricity at all. And it was, I hate to use this word because maybe it doesn't, it's kind of odd to me with the word surreal. But that's probably the right word. But it was like you were in a movie or something. It didn't seem real. It was thick smoke. I mean, you like to compare it to being around a campfire. No, it's like the campfires are around you, and you're in the smoke. Other than that, I don't know. It's almost like a thick fog of smoke. And I want to believe it's better, but the reports are that they only have 3% containment, and of all the fires, it's only 7%. So they're not, and they're moving. They're moving towards Green Valley, Fairfield, and I've heard also Vacaville. I don't know if it's going to get that far. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I would like to say something kind of cool. The the Housleys, they were. It's unbelievable. They're running their businesses, doing their work, putting out fire, and they're doing this all at the same time. And they're exhausted. They'd been awake for 2 days straight. By the time I got there, they'd already been awake for about 24, 25 hours. And the one son running the store said, I've only had 1 hour sleep. Now, that was when I first got there, okay? But this went all through the night, and Adam flew up from LA, Southern California. Got there, I believe he landed around noon, and he met me at the store in Yountville at 2. And I had already attempted to get through I don't know what to call it, barricades, but there was barriers and layers of barriers that you had to get through. The first one was, I guess, city people, city workers, and they were actually stricter than the police. I think the police figured, well, if you've already let past there, but so anyways, it didn't matter. Adam got us through. Once you get to the place, you can't leave, otherwise they won't let you back. Because I didn't have a press credential. I don't have one. So I guess what I wanted to point out is how the community came together. And it's funny, high school buddies that I grew up with, played football with, all of a sudden you're bumping into all these people, and you're just like, hey, how's it going? And some people you don't quite recognize, but you look like, oh my God, it's Troy. You know who these people are. And so, and there's a couple funny stories. I don't want to say funny because right now there's a lot of people dying, and you kind of get me at a good time because I've been crying all morning long, to be honest. I mean, just tears, like literally, like you hear like a water faucet just streaming down. When I was there, I felt really good. You're helping out, you're doing something, you're there, so if something does happen, you can get on top of it right away. Now I'm just outside of Napa. I'm about 45 minutes away, and you turn on. Okay, this is what I was trying to say. There's no electricity there, so you can't pump the water. You can't turn the water faucet on because there's no pressure. Now they're out in the country a little bit, but it wouldn't matter. The electricity is out all over Napa. I think today, hopefully, well, they said it was going to take 3 days, so maybe tomorrow or the next day it's going to be on. But there's no cell phone, there's no internet, so you don't really know what's going on. All you know is this is the property you got to take care of. And we were having to run up the street to put the fires out over there too, because it was so dry. In fact, they say it's still dry. To me, it's a little bit more moist, but I'm about 45 minutes away. And the winds were blowing. And so that's how all the fires started. They were blowing these red hot embers, and I mean bright orange red hot, all over the place, up in the air. And they'd land on your house, they'd land on your dry grass and on your trees. And the trees would just like start up there. And so all night long, you got all the fires out, and you're just kind of sitting out there hanging out, just just keep it safe. And next thing you know, there's a chunk of wood. Well, it was a beer, and there's a fire going. You're like, I was just like literally right there, and I didn't figure it out at first. And then I looked up, I was like, oh, it caught up on the tree. So I actually, other than breathing in a lot of smoke and just being worried about everything that's going on, I didn't really get too caught up in the worst part of it by any means at all. Some of the other guys did. And I know I kind of mixed a bunch of stories in here, but what I want to say is, when I went to the store, the Yountville store, I think it was the youngest son, Eric, he was just working, dealing with his children, dealing with customers, and he had a smile on his face. There's no electricity. Cash only on the window. Cash registers didn't work because of it. And they're open to help the community. And I had eventually, and on the top of it, he's meeting me for the first time because he was in 8th grade, I think, when I was a senior. Maybe he was in 7th grade. And I said, hey, I'm here to help out the owner, his house. I can't get past the police. And he's like, well, that's my father. And I was like, no, you don't look like Adam. Because I'm not America. I was like, oh, because I was trying to meet Eric. And so long story short, I went to the bathroom, came back out, and he's ultra helpful. Gave me a cell phone to put a light on in the bathroom because there's no electricity. And I come back out, and he's dealing with his children, good kids, beautiful children. And then they had their friends there, and then there's customers asking questions, and Eric's answering all of them with a smile on his face. And then I walk up, and we're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to get to Adam? Because there's no phones. There's no cell phone connection. And he's telling me to go down the other store in Napa, Yountville, Ranch Market down there, and then use the landline. And for some reason, I couldn't get through. The phone rang, but it didn't get answered. And what else? And then I went up to the veterans home, and they were helpful. I mean, here I am at the veterans home, and these old people are helping me. And it was the attitude. Literally, here it is. You could say you're at Hell's Gate, or maybe in hell. Fire is everywhere, smoke everywhere. You could barely breathe. And I remember mentioning to Eric, I was like, man, you look really tired. And because while he's talking to me, trying to help me figure out how to get to the house, customers asking questions, his daughter or his kids asking questions, or maybe it was my friend's daughter. And he's got a smile on his face. And I said, man, you look really tired. He goes, well, I haven't gotten any sleep in 25 hours. And I was like, seriously? He goes, yeah. And at the same time, they've been battling all these fires and stuff. And then his father, the reason why I went out is because someone on Facebook, Lucy, had posted, Mr. Housley's out at the house all by himself putting out these fires. And I immediately started packing. I went and got gas, got some food, and I drove up to Napa. I raced up to Napa, and as I was going down 37, I figured I was going to go kind of around an extra 10 minutes because I heard there's a fire at Stornetta, and I figured they probably got that blocked off. There's no way I'm going to go through the Sonoma back way. And there's a huge, massive fire, the southern end of, even beyond American Canyon. I think that was Vallejo land right there. And I'm like, well, how do these fires get all over the place? And that's the odd thing. The fires were everywhere. North, northwest, east, west valley, all the way south. And they say the wind was blowing it around, which maybe it was, because it was dry. And the embers you could see them just blowing up in the air. And by the time I got there, it's like, no, Mike, I'm telling you, there'd be big baseball-sized embers floating up in the sky, just going and going, and then they'd land on property and they'd start another fire. But the thing that didn't make any sense to me was it was all blowing one way. The wind shifted. Don't get me wrong. The wind shifted, and the heat itself from the fires will create more wind. So the winds were like they were saying gusts up to 60 miles an hour. I wasn't there at that time. It wasn't that bad. By the time I got there, it was about 20, 25, maybe even 15. I think it calmed down to about 10 or less by the time I left at 4:30 in the morning. I know I'm kind of rambling, but I think my adrenaline's still going, and definitely worried about everything up there. There's a feeling of helplessness, and I'm not the only one who feels it. A lot of people on Facebook are like, is there anything we can do? And I've already tried to go to another friend's house, and again, the police, they won't let you through. In fact, they're more strict now. They're like, no, you're not getting through, because the fires are out of control. And I think that's what I want to say. Yeah, I've seen fires before. In fact, seen huge fires in Napa, and we rode our bicycles right up to them. You're like, oh wow, But this one was, I think, because the conditions were so dry, you couldn't stop it. There was just no, you couldn't. Okay. We finally got a fire crew, and it was a crew that drove up from San Diego. This is a good way to explain it. They finally got to us about 6 hours later because there was this tree on the next property, and it was blowing embers towards us, and it was just burning. And the highway patrol officer finally got is a small truck, huge tank on the back, and there's two guys, and they pull up, and like, where is it? I'm like, well, it's right there. Like, it's obvious it's right there. And there's a couple small ones in the, so you got the driveway, and there's a little ditch or whatever you want to call that, and there was big stumps just burning and on fire all the way up. So we got the main one, and I'm like, he started to quit. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, there's no way I'm going to put this out. And he goes, this is not going to go out. He goes, I'd have to go and refill my entire tank to come back. He goes, he still wouldn't put it out. And that was the first moment when I realized if he can't put this one out, what are they doing with all the bigger ones? I mean, this was nothing compared to some of the images let me look at the images real quick. Yeah, there's nothing like those. It wasn't nowhere near as big as that stuff. And it makes you realize, well, if these guys can't put this one tree out, how are they going to deal with all that stuff? And it makes you realize this is an unstoppable fire. And it's, honestly, I don't know how they're going to stop it. Today, I think, is day 3 or day 3.5. And I woke up, because yesterday I woke up thinking, well, it's going to be fine. I woke up at about noon. I got home about 5:36, slept for about 5.5, 6 hours. And I figured, oh, it's going to be fine. I turned on the internet. They're like zero containment. It's spreading this way. The wind's blowing it that way. It's getting bigger. And I know I'm just kind of rambling here, but you're left with this feeling of like you can't stop it. And the main problem is, even though we've got people coming in from San Diego and LA and every county that can give a fire truck, there's not enough, because last I heard, I believe this was yesterday afternoon, there was 15 fires going on at the same time in just the Napa, Sonoma, Solano area. And I heard Berkeley, there's a fire there. I don't know if they've got that under control. And I also heard Disneyland's in trouble, that there's a fire or fires going on down there. So I can tell you this about Napa. It is absolutely devastated. And I found out when I came out of Napa, because, when you're in Napa, there's no electricity, there's no internet, there's no cell phones, there's no connection to the outside world. When Adam was giving us news, because he has a connection through satellite, so he'd drive over to the house and tell us, well, hey, here's what's going on, and you had very little information. Then it wasn't until it came out, and it's like two completely separate worlds, and I mean completely separate worlds. That is like, it's a valley, so it's just full of smoke. You're driving down the freeway at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. You can't see nothing. You could see about, I'd say, 3/4 of a mile ahead of you. So I would say somewhat safely. It was kind of dangerous. And then going through the Sonoma, I went Sonoma way back, and it was windy. It was dark. You couldn't see very far. That was probably the most dangerous part, because the roads are a lot more windy over there. I know I'm just kind of rambling, but trying to make some points here. So I guess when I got home and woke up and turned on the internet, that's when I realized how bad it was. Because at the house we were thinking, oh yeah, it's pretty bad. And I said, do you think this is the worst fire in Napa Valley's history? And his father goes, no. He goes, it's pretty bad when that 56 homes burned. And I was just like, because Adam had drove out to Silverado Country Club and come back and they showed us the videos. There was more than 2 dozen homes burned that they got alone, and they just went in and came back. And I was like, all right, 25 homes or more, 30 homes are already gone in Silverado Country Club. And maybe Art was just trying to be positive, or I don't think it was that. I think it's because you're so isolated. You can't see very far. You can barely see the glowing fire in the hills that are off about a mile, I don't know, miles away. It's not till you get out of that till you really start seeing the devastation on the news. That's what I'm trying to say. So the other main point I'd like to state, even though I'm from Napa, I think I saw something that I never saw. Napa people are hardworking people. Here they are dealing with the worst. By the way, I woke up this morning and said this is probably the worst firestorm or whatever the word is in the history of California. And they're working. I mean, the son is working the stores. The dad's keeping the fire, putting the fires out all night long by himself when it was worse than when I got there. And he's also in trying to figure out, well, how are we going to finish, the wine crush? Because they also own a winery, a small winery. And I'm just looking at this guy, just like, you're not going to take at least a day or two off to just deal with what's going on. And I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. Is yeah, we got to get this done because that has to be done in a certain time. I don't know if they'd already started crushing. They started doing the crush. I remember they had to bottle it, and I'm not going to try to explain that because I'm not an expert at that. But they were in the middle of it, and they had to get it done. And he's like, I have to get so many people there to make sure that it gets finished right. And then Adam was doing his news broadcasting at the same time as coming to the house, putting out fires and telling us what to do. Like, we need this done. And I was at the house all night long with Art and his wife, and then I was basically staying outside, walking the whole property, putting out fires. And Adam would keep showing up about every 45 minutes or so, maybe an hour. And I think it was every 30 to 45 minutes. And he would walk the property, put out fires. And then he'd go back over because it was about a block and a half away at Signorella's winery. I think I said that wrong. Please forgive me. Let me see if I can change this. I got it. Yeah, I can't. I have it right here. Oh, yeah, there it is. Signorella's winery, which if I didn't put an image in there, yeah, I did. Those two images of the building that's completely destroyed. The winery's gone. Gone. So I know I kind of came on here without an actual purposeful intention other than just to say Napa's bad. And if I could say one thing, pray for wine. Or pray for rain. If it could rain, that would help a lot. And they're saying there's not going to be rain for 2 weeks, but you know what? Just pray anyways. The weather can shift. You never know. I think the only thing I want to say, when you're there, at least for me, you feel like you're doing something. You feel like you're there, so if something happens, you can do something about it. And now that I came back, it's like I want to go right back. And I may end up going over to the Fairfield area or to Green Valley to help out over there because that's where it's starting to get bad right now. So that's all I'm going to leave. I know it's kind of a random video. I'm not even going to try to explain what it's like seeing the homes, like the house, one house up. Now, this is country. These are properties. They aren't just like houses next to each other. That was a house I used to go to when I was a kid for my friends' birthdays. We, do pool parties and stuff. It's gone. Completely gone. I'll tell you what you see in Napa. You see the foundations and you see the fireplace is still standing. That's it. That's all you see. I've seen fires before, and you see like half the house, 3/4 of the house, but there's always something just gone. Completely gone. There's nothing. So that's all. My next couple of videos are going to be hopefully, well, I might actually report some more videos, and I think I have some live footage of when I was up there. I might upload that so you can kind of get an idea, but it's nothing like what you're going to see on the news. It was so dark where I was at, and I didn't have lighting, and but that's it. This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. I think what I'm trying to express is there's a sense of guilt for not being there, and you don't, no matter what you do, you don't feel like you did enough. All right, bye.